I mean, it seems like there's just total incompetence all the way down on the federal side right now.
Elections have consequences. We're going to save our country is for them to get out and overwhelm the system.
Hi, this is Bill Conrad. I have some really exciting news. Jim Marchant is bringing the election integrity hearings to Reno, Nevada on December the 1st. That's a Wednesday. There are two sessions. One's at 10 o'clock and the other, I believe, is at 1:30 to 4:30. And these are the same hearings that we saw down in Arizona. Some very powerful people will be in town. We'll have several people testifying about both the corruption that happened in the last election, as well as we'll have elected officials telling us what they're going to do to fix it and go forward to have safe and honest elections in the midterms. So I'm very excited. Jim Marchant is bringing the election integrity hearings. And Thursday, the 2nd, we have the Sierra Republican Club and Combined Commonwealth Luncheon. This is going to be a darn heavy-duty luncheon. John Sanchez is the guest speaker. He's going to be talking about finances and how the upcoming elections will affect your pocketbook and some issues about monetary tightening with this inflation that is hitting us right now. John is always an exciting speaker. Last time he was here, he told us about the bull market, and it's been amazing how accurate his projections have been. Should be very exciting to have him. We also have a group of politicians and candidates who will speak before John, as well as Jim Marchant will give a about 10-minute overview of the election integrity hearings from the day before. So again, this is going to be one of the best luncheons we've had all year. And of course, it is the final luncheon before the new year. So we'll see you on the 1st for the integrity hearings. And then on the 2nd, we'll see you at the luncheon. And there are tickets still available. Hurry up, get your tickets now, and see you then. Well, now without further ado, let's go on and we'll listen to the rest of the interview today with Jim Marchant. And again, that's exciting news he brought about the integrity election hearings. Hey, Jim, welcome to Red Move's a little pre-video before we have our monthly meeting for Red Move. And that actually it's underneath the Nevada Commonwealth and Sierra Republican. But, you know, another thing that's amazing, you're coming up here, you'll be at Red Move this month. But I understand on the 1st, you're going to have in the Atlantis the Nevada election integrity hearings. One of the hearings is actually going to be up here. So tell us about that hearing on Wednesday the 1st and who it's open to and when are the times.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. We're going to have an election integrity hearing very similar to what Arizona had the end of November of 2020, right after the election. If you remember, some legislators down there got together and had a hearing. They brought in Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Colonel Phil Waldron, the cyber expert, and to try to start the process to expose what happened with the election fraud in Arizona, which I believe happened all over the country. We're going to do it again. Mark Fincham, who's running for Secretary of State down in Arizona, who's a good friend of mine and actually part of my coalition, my Secretary of State coalition, he's actually going to have another hearing similar to what we're doing here on December 1st down in Pima County, Arizona on December 6th. We're going to have another one of these in Michigan, Georgia, and Colorado. So we're going to do these kind of around the country, and we're starting here in Nevada as the first one to kick it off. So what it's going to be is I am going to invite elected officials to come sit on a panel and hear the evidence. And we're going to have people like Dr. Shiva out of MIT, Seth Keshel, possibly even Mike Lindell. We're working on that. We'll certainly have Colonel Phil Waldron with all of the information that he's gathered in the year since the election. And we're going to present that. We're going to present specific information about Nevada, the anomalies that we found here. And more importantly, what we want to do is to outline and maybe provide some solutions how we can have a fair election here in Nevada by 2022.
Yes, true. Tell us, I'm really concerned about actually the next election with the all mail ballot. That's going to lead to high probability of corruption.
Well, yeah. So to give Barbara a little credit, she's actually sponsoring and promoting an opt-out, the ability for you to opt out of mail-in ballots. So that's a positive step in the right direction, and that's one of the solutions that we will highlight and try to encourage everybody to opt out of the mail-in ballots so those don't get sent out. That doesn't guarantee that people like Joe Gloria are still going to send them out with your name, but at least if we opt out, we'll have a little something to go back on, maybe in a court, a lawsuit or something like that. But it's a step in the right direction. And then we've got other options like anti-counterfeitable ballots that I have been promoting. Went to Dallas, Texas on October 6th, met with a company that makes money for countries and other anti-counterfeitable documents. And we asked them if they could do ballots, and they did. They produced one for us. If you shine a black light on it, you can see the holograms and the
Wow.
watermarks that are in there. And if we use things like this, we can kind of chip away at the ability for the other side to cheat.
Well, that's definitely going in the right direction, and it will be a challenge. I know you're going to have a lot of volunteers and a lot of poll watchers in this
Right.
next cycle in the drop boxes. The early election allows for fraud, not voting on election day and then voting remotely or through drop boxes. All those different things make it very difficult. And for example, in the senior homes or a lot of the worker areas where everybody gets a ballot, and who
Right,
knows,
right.
and supposedly whether if you've moved out of Nevada, you're still getting a ballot to some extent, unless you've taken your name off, because traditionally an absentee ballot, you have to request it. But when they mail it to
Right.
everybody, it just goes everywhere.
That's right.
And people can glean them. In the senior homes, there was a lot of places across the country where ballot collectors or gleaners would come in and they would help people fill them out. And there's a lot of litigation right now across the country just on the senior homes.
That's right, and that kind of gets into the ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting is legal now here in Nevada, and that's something that we on our side have to get really good at, just like the other side is. And that is another avenue that we're going to push in the state here from the state party through Michael McDonald, the state chairman, all the way down to the county chairmans. We have an active project going on right now to implement and strengthen that plan to get ballot harvesting going on our side. And when I don't know if you know this, but last week I had Mark Meadows out here in Nevada. He did a couple of fundraisers for me, but more importantly, we had a strategic meeting with Chairman Mike McDonald, the state party, and numerous county party chairmen, as well as a few county commissioners. And we are implementing a plan with the help of Mark Meadows, who, by the way, is the chief of staff of President Trump. And so they are very serious about Nevada. And so that's what we're doing. So I got Mark to come out here and specifically for this, he is concentrating on 2 states, Virginia and Nevada. And Virginia's done. We won that, as you saw, with the help of what he did with the help of President Trump and the whole team behind him and Conservative Partnership Institute. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's run by Jim DeMint and Mark Meadows, and they're part of the House Freedom Caucus. They actually are an umbrella organization that helps the House Freedom Caucus members in Congress. People like Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, Louis Gohmert, Matt Gaetz, could go on. There's like 40, 45 of them. And Mark Meadows was a founder of the House Freedom Caucus. So you see, we're going in the right direction towards conservatism. And Mark Meadows is dedicated to helping us here in Nevada.
Well, Jim, we only had you scheduled for a few minutes, but if you don't mind, I'd like to go on a little bit more. Maybe we could put this up as some additional footage up behind the ad, because this is mainly an ad, because you could actually be speaking at the Sierra Republican Club in the Commonwealth about this program. I think you've got
Right,
10 minutes. You could be speaking on the next day. We have
And I'll
luncheon.
cover a lot of this in there. I think I can do it in 10 minutes.
That's very good. So a couple other questions, if you don't mind. We'll put this on like a little bit of continued video. How the last election in Virginia, the chaos in the Biden administration right now. I mean, it's just one disaster after other. Republicans will do well. It'll be one of the best years since Newt Gingrich had the contract with America in '94.
Right.
I expect to do really well, but we do have that all mail-in ballot is definitely something you got to fight against. So we got one hand behind our back. But let's say we do get some Republicans elected. Just say you get elected. Can we get rid of this all mail-in ballot?
Oh,
system?
absolutely. Well, we have to get the legislature too. And if I get elected, we'll probably do that. Because what we've got to do, and I don't know if you're familiar with what happened in Virginia, they had a great ground game. Mark Meadows, President Trump, and that whole team, Conservative Partnership Institute, they worked really hard in Virginia. And one of the things that helped them was they overwhelmed the voting system. I mean, there's no way Youngkin should have won in Virginia, but they got the people out. And that's what we've got to do here in Nevada, too. So we're going to present solutions at this election integrity hearing. But one of those solutions is for the people. The people have to get involved too. They've got to get out and vote. They've got to register if they're not registered, and they've got to overwhelm the system that it just overcomes any cheating mechanisms that they've got built into their system. And that's exactly what happened in Virginia. The Republicans came out more than normal, and then also they were able to reach out into the independents and even Democrats because of the parents got involved because of the school stuff there. Same thing's happening here in Nevada, and that's one of the things I'm going to encourage at this hearing is to entice and stress how important it is for the people of Nevada that have never been engaged to get engaged and get out, because that's how you overwhelm the system. And you allow for a fair election. And I'm not going to say allow for Republicans to get elected. Our goal is to have the will of the people through their votes be true and fair. And that's what we're going to do. And that's going to be one of the solutions. So, yeah.
Well, the governor, which just baffles me, if you look at the lockdowns, we're more locked down, with the exception of LA and San Francisco.
Right.
We're a lot more locked down than the rest of California. So what gives? I mean, I was down in Orange County the other day. No one had a mask on, and it's ridiculous. We have masks everywhere up here. What's going on?
Well, he's a Democrat, and he's just following the lead from, the cabal. The cabal is the socialist, communist cabal that runs our world. The oligarchs, the central bankers. That's who runs everything. And they're just following the lead from them, like Fauci and, those guys. I mean, that's who's calling the shots, and he's just a puppet.
So what's the one thing the governor is really doing that's torquing off the voters in Nevada?
I think it's the mandates. It's just the, draconian mandates that you either have to wear a mask or you have to get a vaccine shot in order to work somewhere, or, I think people are finally getting fed up with their freedoms being taken away. And I think you're seeing a lot of pushback now that we saw in Virginia and even New Jersey, which I don't think, we got the governorship there. We did get one race there that was unexpected. Then in Columbia, South Carolina, we got the mayor there, which hadn't been Republican in forever. So a lot of momentum on our side. We just need to capitalize on it and, provide hope for people to get them out. Because one of the things I hear when I go speak is, what good is it going to do for me to vote in 22? It's going to be the same election system. And that's a valid question. But what we've got to do is encourage people to overcome that and get out and vote anyway, because like I said, we've got to overwhelm the system. And when we do, they will not have the ability to cheat, no matter what mechanisms they put in there to cheat. And that's what we've got to do.
So how do we overwhelm the system?
We get people out and vote. That's one of the things that Mark Meadows did when he was out here with the state party and the county parties, is to stress how important it is for us to get out and get people registered and make sure, and not only that, is to make sure their registrations are correct. The DMV has messed up a lot of the registrations, and a lot of them are not right. I had at the CCRP meeting down in Las Vegas last week, I had a woman there that thought she was registered. We tried to look it up because she needed to be at this meeting the second time. And one of the things that they had to do was verify that she was registered. And we couldn't find it. And so we've discovered that they had somehow changed her from Republican to nonpartisan. So when she registered, because people don't pay attention to that when you register at the DMV, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on there. They, I hate to be a conspiracy type guy, but it sure seems like something's going on there, that they're changing registrations. I mean, if you look at the number of nonpartisans that are registered now, it's astounding. I mean, I don't think that there are more nonpartisans than Republicans.
That makes what you said makes sense. I was even trying to figure that out. How do we get so many nonpartisans all at once? And what I can think of is by this almost automatic registration system that they have at the DMV, where everyone registers, that, so many people aren't engaged in politics until they get upset.
Right.
So you get this big body and they're just independent. They don't really pay attention. In fact, a lot of people, unfortunately, don't vote or don't even think about a candidate, especially the local or the lesser candidates, until minutes before they vote. And if they get a piece of mail or hear a name or somebody says something, they vote for that person.
Yeah, the day before the election, they'll call somebody. Who do I vote for?
Yeah. Now, the people who are involved in politics, even the 5%ers, the central committee people, the people come to meetings and groups, off politics season. Right. They think everyone's thinking about politics because they live to make the company, they live to make the country and the state freer and more liberty.
Right. So one of the things you said a minute ago was, the almost automatic thing at DMV. It is automatic.
Yeah.
You are registered to vote despite, you don't even know it. And a lot of people don't even know that they are automatically registered. And by law, it's supposed to be nonpartisan, right? That's the checkbox that gets checked when people register their vehicle at the DMV. But, who checks that box? So that's how come we have a lot more nonpartisans now. And like I said, there are people that have said, I'm a Republican, but they didn't get picked Republican. It's either nonpartisan or Democrat. And that's the things that we've got to stress to people too. Before the election and before the primary in June, go make sure your registration is correct and like you want it. And if it's not, change it. And that's another thing that we're going to stress at this hearing, that there are shenanigans going on like this. And let's get it fixed before the primary, because here's what happens. If you go there to vote at a polling place and they have any problems with it, like let's say they say, oh, you already voted, they give you a provisional ballot that never gets counted. So your vote never gets counted. So let's stop all of that before the election. Let's make sure that your registrations are correct the way you want it, the correct address, everything, and then be proactive. And that's another way that we can stop the ability for them to cheat.
So one last question for those outside the state of Nevada. Can you explain to them how we vote here in the primaries? I mean, we used to be a caucus state. We're not a caucus state now. The Democrats took that out for the president. But how do we vote? Do you have to be a Republican? Do you have to be a Democrat? Can you cross over? I understand there's like 24 states you can cross over now, including California.
We're not an open primary type state like California and South Carolina and others. So it'll still be Republican, only votes in the primaries and that type of thing. So, yeah. So
you have to be a registered Republican to vote in a Republican primary. Yes,
exactly. Democrat to vote Democrat.
So the independents can't vote.
They can't vote, right. They won't be able to vote for anybody.
And so they're just not paying attention. They're just
out in the cold until the general.
They could be upset, but they don't get to vote.
That's right.
So yeah, so
which is okay. I mean, that's the way it is. You gotta pick a lane.
so for
So
those outside the state, how do we do in Nevada? Are we? How does it? Do we have establishment Republicans, or how do we get wild cards elected? How's it go here?
we're run by the cabal, which includes the establishment Republicans, unfortunately, and they dominate our party here. I mean, there are very few of us constitutional conservatives here in Nevada, and that's something that I've been working on since I just decided to run for office back in 15. Trying to get more and more conservatives elected.
Yeah. One
And
thing that baffles me, when I retired from the military, I wanted to make Nevada my state because I thought it was a freer, more liberal state. And we have some pretty good laws and gun laws, things of that nature. We don't have income tax, but I'm really concerned. I retired about 8 or 9 years ago. We've had a tremendous number of Californians migrate into the state. I'm concerned about, California is so darn liberal. It's completely gone and it's having issues. Will they overtake Nevada?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the Californians that have come over, and they are as conservative as I am. They're just sick and tired of what's going on in California and moving over here to a free state. And I maintain that if we have a fair and transparent election here in Nevada, we win. Conservatives win, because I think we are a conservative state. And I want that to be proven out. That's why I'm working so hard to try to make this happen, because I just feel it that we are a conservative state. I travel the whole state. I talk to people all over the state. And even here in Clark County, that is a very diverse county and supposedly liberal. There's a lot of conservatives here. And I think it's at least half and half. And if that's that way, then we win the state.
That's incredible. One of my last duty stations was Moffett Field, Federal Airfield in California, in Stanford, or Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and then what's the name of where Stanford is? I know what it is. But anyway, 94% registration Democrat.
Yep.
What? And these are intelligent people. What's going on?
Well, I don't necessarily believe it's that way, because even here in Nevada, because of the anomalies with DMV and the motor voter law, which is, you have to opt out now. During my session in 17 was when the Democrats flipped that. Before the 17 session, the motor voter law was you had to opt in. You got the ability to ask DMV to register you. Otherwise, nothing happened. And then in my session, the Democrats flipped that, just like California, to an automatic registration and supposed to register you as nonpartisan, and they flipped it. So you're automatically registered. A lot of people don't even know that. I'd say the majority of the people don't even know when they register, when they come in from out of state and they register, they don't even know they're registered to vote automatically.
By the way,
that's a problem. And they did that on purpose.
That number 94, I know it's really high. It was Palo Alto, where Stanford is. You got East Palo Alto and Palo Alto. I think it's there. It's like one of the highest rates of Democrats, and they're educated, intelligent on one side. Well, East Palo Alto is a little different, but it's just like nuts there. I mean,
it's understandable.
So that's why California's gone. It's just gone.
It's going to be tough to get back, but I think if we can slowly bring back states like Nevada, Arizona, keep Idaho from going, purple or even slightly, less red. Montana, so on. If we can get Texas to be more red than what they are, and kind of just stop the election fraud all over the country, because it happens everywhere. And if we stop that, I think we're slowly going to come back to the America that I grew up in.
What do you think right now, in closing, the Americans are most torqued off about? I mean, me as a retired military, the fall of Afghanistan, just the Biden incompetence. And what really torques me off, what really upsets me, is whether you believe in the shots or don't like the shots. I've got 3 kids in the military, 2 at West Point, 1's in the Coast Guard. And if you're a fundamental Catholic or Christian pro-life and you don't want to take the shot, they haven't given one religious exemption yet, They're about to they're trying to kick out a whole bunch of folks out of the military for not taking the jab, things like that. That's what torques me off as a military guy, and especially Afghanistan and China. We got China right now at our back door about, will they attack Taiwan? I mean, it seems like there's just total incompetence all the way down on the federal side right now.
Well, so
and inflation too.
Yeah, elections have consequences. So many on our side stay out of the game and don't vote. We have what we have because they didn't participate. And we've got to stress to them that they've got to get out and help us. There are people out there like myself and others that are struggling and fighting like crazy. And we need help. We need the people to get up and get engaged and get out and get other people registered that aren't registered. They've got to get them motivated and tell them the only way we're going to save our country is for them to get out and overwhelm the system.
Well, very good, Jim. I appreciate you coming on today. And I look forward to seeing you up on Wednesday, December 1st at the Atlantis. I understand 10 o'clock is the first session, and the second session is like at 1:30. Goes till about 5, I understand. Very much appreciate that open hearing up here. And then we look forward to your actually speaking at the Sierra Republican Club and the Commonwealth the next day at the Atlantis for luncheon. Tickets are still available for that. And then I understand your hearing is capacity 300. So as long as there's capacity, people can listen, right?
Yep, they can come in and join us. And we also want people that experienced problems at their voting place to come in and testify. And if they want, they can sign an affidavit. We will get those filed as complaints, that type of thing. So that's what we're going to do at our hearings. So we look forward to it.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate you coming on today. Enjoy the day. Is it nice down there in you're down in Las Vegas right now,
I'm
right?
in Las Vegas. That's correct. Yep.
We're up in Reno here, so it's a little cool.
Well, I love Reno. I love the North. I'm a rural type guy, and I spend a lot of time out there.
It's very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Red Move. We will see you at the hearings on Wednesday. They are free, Wednesday the 1st. And then on the 2nd for the luncheon, you'll have to buy a ticket for that. So go ahead and buy those early. And in the meantime, if you could share this video and subscribe, that will help us grow. Till then, take care.